Morning, good morning. I'm the Reverend Tina DeYoe. I use she, her pronouns, and I welcome you to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. This morning, we are welcoming our very own Mike McNaughton to share the message, the sermon with us this morning. I'm actually really excited for this talk. I've seen all the slides, and it should be good. So thank you, Mike, for speaking with us today. If this is your first time here, we'd love to get to know you. Please sign our guest sign-in book in the foyer. You can also sign up to receive our announcement emails. You can also speak with Rebecca Howard, our membership chair, handing out programs right now, if you'd like to know more about how to become a member here. And Mike McNaughton also serves on that committee, so you can also talk to him after the service. If you're watching online, hello! Please sign our virtual guest book, which is located on a link underneath the video there on YouTube. If you're a parent, you can speak with Terra Hite, right over here, our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, about kid and youth and multi-generational programming. We have lots of worship options for folks, for young folks, for old folks, for middle-aged folks. We have our young worshipers space here, down on our carpet. We have our intention table, and kids can also stay seated with their parents. We have in our library, it is a quiet room that you can bring your kiddos into as well. And our nursery is down the hall, but our nursery coordinator, Sarah Hamoud, is out today. Oh, she's here. Oh, she's right there. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, thanks. Terra told me she was gonna be out. Now she's here, yay. Okay, so Sarah is right there. And if your kiddo needs to go to the nursery, please have them see Sarah. Kiddos will stay in the service today. We don't have programming after the time for all ages, so all kiddos will stay in the service or can go with Sarah to the nursery. Again, welcome. We are glad you are here. Also, we have our candles of community area that you can light joys, sorrows, laments, anything that is on your heart that you would like to share with this community to be spoken out loud. You don't have to write in the book. You can also just light a candle. And we will read those during the candles of community time. This morning, we also have announcements. And you saw that we are now trying to limit our announcements in the service, as sometimes it leads us to going over. So we have our announcements rolling on a slide carousel before the service that you can pay attention to if you get here early. But the announcements we wanted to highlight for today are here. After the service, we have our committee fair in the fellowship hall, so please go on in there after. There will be lots of activity. You can sign up to do various different things that you might be interested in, as well as the Social Justice Committee is also partnering with Citizens Climate Lobby to do some voter letter writing so that we can get folks to be voting in the election coming up. So please stay after and enjoy the committee fair. We also, this afternoon, have a parent and caretaker group at 2:15. So if you are a parent or a caretaker, please join Terra Hite here at 2:15. Do you know where that will be exactly? One in the classrooms? Okay. And then there's also a teen hangout from 2 to 3:30 today. So teens can come and hang out in a space where they can do art, play games, and just have time, peer time together. We are also continuing our mindful reflection space on Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. That's with myself and John Ambrosiano. Some folks joined us for our first one this past week. It was great. And if you just need some time, space away from social media, the world, anything, work, parent duties, school, you are welcome to join us in that space for some mindful reflection time. And this Friday, it's also National Coming Out Day, and we're gonna have a queer trivia night. So this is for all ages, so please join us. We're also gonna have Frito pie, so please join us for that. And then our last highlighted announcement is for the Espanola Pathways Shelter. We just finished our Share the Plate for them, and with the, and that money is gonna go towards some other projects there at the homeless shelter in Espanola. But we're doing a combination interfaith coalition for homelessness to try to raise $10,000 so that they can open up their shelter again to be an overnight facility. So costs like linens for beds and shower upkeep and laundry. So we're, as the Interfaith Coalition on Homelessness here in the Los Alamos area, we're trying to raise as faith communities $10,000. And our allotted amount was $1,300 as a congregation, and we already raised $800. So good job, yay. But if you'd like to keep on donating, we have $500 more to raise. You can write a check to Espanola Pathways Shelter, and then at the social justice table, you can give that check to Nelly, who will be heading up that table. So please feel free to donate to that awesome cause. Thank you. And also, if you, your announcements can be also found on the back of your order of service, Facebook, in your email. And we are really trying to get out the emails every Thursday at 12 noon. So if you're looking for church announcements, look in your email box every Thursday at 12 noon. You should be receiving an email so you know what's happening. And now I will invite you to greet your neighbor. So please feel free to introduce yourself if you don't know the person. And also, not shaking hands is okay because COVID is a thing. So please take some time and greet one another. We gather in worship to find meaning and to live more deeply. Worship creates connections within, among, and beyond us, calling us to be our better selves, calling us to live with wisdom and compassion. It is the month of October now, and we have another church theme to that our church is exploring this month, and that is the theme of deep listening. So this morning, we're going to be listening to the message that lions and bonobos can tell us from Mike McNaughton, and what animals can teach us about how to live with one another in peace, right? So let's silence our cell phones as we listen to our opening music from Nelly. Thank you, Nelly.
Oh, chalice lighting, thank you. So, Ruby will light the chalice for us. Thank you. And we light this chalice in celebration of the rich diversity of life from which we can learn. How's it looking, Ruby? Is it working? Is it a light? All right, thank you. Thank you.
And now let us please rise in body and or spirit and sing our opening hymn, number 127, Can I See Another's Woe? And now let us recite our affirmation together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrifice, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Please be seated. Candles have been lit this morning in celebration of Anne Schaefer's 85th birthday this Friday. So happy birthday, Anne. Yay! And also, we have some candles of joy for Linda Deck and Barb Franzek, who just retired this week. Woo! Congratulations! For the family and friends of Scott Johnson, who left the world this week, and we know many lives have been affected by the loss of his life. For those recovering from illness, another prayer for Scott Johnson. Loss of life and selfless choices has led to helping save the lives of 8 others as he was an organ donor. For anyone who feels overwhelmed and needs a little peace. Prayers for Rod Payne, battling cancer, Taryn Reeves' uncle. We'll also lift up prayers for all those who have been horribly impacted by Hurricane Helene. May all these prayers, spoken, unspoken, those still on our hearts, be in this space, this time of silence. Tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the Israeli hostages being taken by Hamas and the horrific beginning of what has been stated by the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the occupied Palestinian territory as the crime of genocide committed by the government of Israel against the people of Gaza. We also know this is the time of the high holy days in the Jewish tradition. We enter into this prayer and meditation time, praying, pleading for peace, especially now as the horrific violence has extended into Lebanon and now with Iran in the mix. We yell, we cry, we ask for people to practice the deep listening that we're practicing here this month with one another instead of practicing war. We ask for healing and ceasefire. We ask for humans to treat one another with dignity. May we be in solidarity with our Jewish and Palestinian siblings here and abroad. And now let us hear the words from one of our Jewish UU ministers, the Reverend D.L. Helfler.
Good morning. My name is Reverend D.L. Helfer, and I am taping this as part of UUJME's preparation for the Jewish High Holy Days in 2024. As a Jewish Unitarian Universalist, I usually head into these holidays, the Jewish high holidays, from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, and there's other ritual holidays in that time frame. I enter into that time with an open heart. It's a time very rich in tradition, so focused on both community and self-examination, with spaciousness to reflect on the past year, to release fears, to make amends, and to generally make oneself good with God, however one understands God. And there's the music and the singing. It lightens my soul while filling my heart. And I feel like I wait all year for my favorite of those songs, Avinu Malkeinu. We sing it in supplication, opening our own heart in preparation for the new year. But this year, my feelings are a lot more conflictual. I haven't been in temple much in the past year. My work with Jewish Voice for Peace has made me feel unwelcome in many Jewish settings. And even where I am welcome in maybe anti-Zionist Jewish settings, or at least not explicitly Zionist settings, it's hard to get quiet with myself and be with myself when I know that others in the room are angry at me because I have a Palestine flag on my shirt, or I have a "Don't Kill in My Name" button on my jacket. And I'm not sorry for this, but it's very hard to feel spiritual in that setting. And I know I'm not alone. I'm hearing this from you Jews across the political spectrum, across the realm of understanding. And I don't offer my thoughts to center my voice because we should rightly be centering the voices of Palestinians, of those impacted by this genocide. But here today, I'm offering my voice in the hope that it offers some space for reflection. So part of the High Holy Days is something called Taslich, Taslich, if you want to look it up. It's a ritual of mourning, of casting off. Some people cast off bread or stones or birdseed into a body of moving water, letting go of things we want to leave behind in the year just concluded. Maybe anger or fear or resentment, any of the array of emotions we have experienced and perhaps do not wish to carry into this new Jewish year. And this year, I'm inviting us all into that ritual, at least a bit. I'm wondering, what are the ways you've experienced your emotions and reactions this past year, particularly around Gaza and Israel? Have you been able to hear others? Have you welcomed conversation? Have you said things you've regretted? Or have you stayed in a comfortable silence, uncomfortable, but hesitant to rock the boat? This is an opportunity. It's a season of shift, whether you're part of the Jewish tradition or not. In fall, before winter descends, so many faith traditions, including Unitarian Universalism, reminds us that this is a time to harvest both internally and externally. So please be in these questions with us. For me, I know it's a hard season of excavation this year. I am heartened by our faith tradition's movement this year of passing the Action for Immediate Witness Solidarity with Palestinians at this year's General Assembly. And I'm so unbelievably grateful for those doing the quiet and continuous and unappreciated work of advocacy, both, within our faith tradition and within the larger world. And I'm horrified and I'm broken by the genocide that continues to unfold in Gaza, and even more now in the West Bank, or also now in the West Bank, at Israel's hands, with this country's provision of the bombs and the money to do so. I struggle now as a Unitarian Universalist in a way that I haven't. And like others, I considered leaving for a time. For months I asked, where were the faith voices mourning the loss of Palestinian life? Of course, I mourn the loss of life, and I do mourn the loss of life that happened on October 7th. And also, Palestinians have been losing their lives at the hands of Israelis from before I was alive, and continue to do so. October 7th was a terrible day, but there are many, many terrible days with loss of life in that region. What I know we can agree on is that we want this to end. But I've been shaking my metaphorical hand at God for months, yelling internally, not at some white bearded man in the sky, and not that I feel anyone else is responsible for this, but I'm looking, like so many others, for ways to listen better, do better, and help shift this horror. And so I came back to the call of faith community. I found my way back to Unitarian Universalism, where we learn together, where we grieve together, and sometimes we find new ways to be in the world together. Excuse me. These are the questions I carry into the High Holy Days this year. I don't yet know where I'll go to temple, but I will, somewhere. Because as much as this is a personal heart journey, the act of doing this in community is absolutely essential. So I invite you, join me, join Jews around the world in examining our beliefs, our actions, and asking ourselves and our community how to best align the call of our hearts and our values, and to take that into the world. May it be so, and blessed be.
Gather in our meditation song time, listening to the words of Avenu Malakainu. And may we reflect on those words in this time. Now, if all the young and young at heart would like to come forward for the time for all ages.
Hello. Today, Mike's going to be talking with us about animals. How many of you, all of you, how many of you like animals? Raise your hand, yeah. What is your favorite animal? Cats. Cats. Anyone else? Favorite animal? Sloths and whales? Dogs. Octopus. Dolphins. How many of you like lions? Yeah. How many of you have heard of bonobos? Awesome. Did you know that bonobos are of the same family as apes? So today, Mike is going to talk with us about animals and emotions or feelings. How many of you think animals have feelings? Wow, that looks like everybody. So since you all think that animals have feelings, do you all think we should treat animals better? Yeah. Do you think we can learn from animals? What do you think we can learn from them? How to treat our world better? How to go with the flow? Unconditional love. I also think we can learn a lot from animals. Things like community, empathy, and love. So let us go today remembering to care for our animals because they can teach us so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nelly. Thank you. So this is number 602 from our hymnal, Singing a Living Tradition, with a line added at the end, and I'll explain why in a minute. So this, in the hymnal and in many other places, it's attributed to Lao Tzu, But here is my 60-year-old version of all of the writings of Lao Tzu, and it is not from Lao Tzu. It's from Confucius. Actually, it's a simplified extract from Confucius. And Confucius had a lot more to say. He doesn't always write briefly, so he had much more to say. So this version begins, if there is to be peace in the world. And as Reverend Tina has pointed out today, there is not peace in the world, and it's a very important subject. This ends with, there must be peace in the heart. And that is also very important. And according to this reading, there's a connection between them. If there is to be peace in the world, and then it goes through nations, cities, neighbors, the home, there must be peace in the heart. Now, I have a problem. I do not have peace in my heart, and the reason is because there is no peace in the world. So the point which is essential to also essential to what I'm going to talk about is that it's a cycle of violence. If there is to be peace in the heart, there must be peace in the world. It's a cycle of violence, and yet bonobos, of whom I shall talk about soon, have escaped from this cycle. Can we learn? All right, so let's see here. Put these aside. Okay. When I was young and surrounded by seemingly endless wars, I'm talking about the 1940s, a friend told me, humans are the only animals that kill members of their own species. I wonder if that's true. We'll talk some more about lions, but much more interesting than the truth of that statement is she's comparing humans with other animals. Is that allowed? It was strongly discouraged when I was young, but I think it's probably more allowed today, but we'll see. Furthermore, she's implying that animals are better than humans and we should learn from them. Animals don't kill members of their own species. Well, never mind whether it's true or not, but humans do, and we should do better, was her point. Now, I understood where she was coming from. As a child, I loved all animals except humans. Animals, good. Humans, bad. Next slide. When I was young, my family lived on an army base, and this is the British Army flag, and you can see there's a lion up on the top there, even more important than the crown. One morning, now when I was young, I was 8 years old. I was walking to school and I noticed a dog in the back of a van. And as usual, I reached out to pat the dog and it bit me. And it barked very loudly, which brought the owner running, but he didn't admonish the dog. Instead, he yelled at me, accusing me of stealing from his van. Fighting back tears, I tried to explain, but he yelled, "You kids are all thieves!" His words hurt much more than the dog bite. The dog was doing his job, faithfully guarding his master's van, and the man was accusing me unfairly. And worse, he was accusing my friends. Well, it was a rough neighborhood, but how dare he accuse my friends? So my conclusions on this at that time were the dog, good. My friends, good. The man, well, what do you think? Now, what's the underlying problem here? My friends wanted to be lions, like that lion up on the top there. They were army kids, and they wanted to be in the army, and their hero was King Richard the Lionhood. And he was good, right? What do you think? And if they are like him, they will be good and they will be admired. We admire wild lions who do not want or need our affirmation, but what about wild children who do need our affirmation? So as a child, I loved all animals, even lions, and now I hesitate because I lived among lions in Zimbabwe, and I wonder, do we really understand lions? And do we understand humans who admire lions? So, do lions kill members of their own species? Well, male lions certainly do. Of every five male lions that are born in the wild, only one survives to become an adult, or at least to become a father. We can choose to be like lions or lion hearts, and then we shape that myth and change what we think it means to be a lion. And that way we can change our society, or is this another myth? Do we shape our society, or does our society shape us? Myth or truth? Okay, next slide. So, maybe this is a picture of Peter O'Toole and Katharine Hepburn, or maybe it's the parents of Richard the Lionheart. Anybody seen this movie? Okay, all right. It's an old movie, and I recommend it. So these are the parents, Henry and Eleanor. Henry was the most powerful king in Europe, while Eleanor was almost as powerful as both Queen of England and Queen of France. How does she manage that? That's another story. And their son, Richard, was a lion in a dysfunctional family of lions. So, next slide. Here is Eleanor's coat of arms. Okay, she's a lion. Now, her husband, Henry, had two coats of arms. Next slide. This is his coat of arms as Duke of Normandy. And, next slide, here it is as King of England. Henry wins, at least to start with. Eleanor won the long game. She outlived her husband and 4 of her 5 sons, which is remarkably the same as an average lioness. Quick history lesson, just in case you wanted to know. So Eleanor and Henry were both strong-willed, and they fought endlessly. And her sons were also strong-willed. And while Mom fought with words, her son fought with swords. So together they hatched many schemes to try to defeat Dad. Eventually, in 1189, they succeeded, and Richard became king. He then handed over his kingdom to Eleanor and his younger brother John, and this was probably wise because Richard didn't speak English. He married, as was his duty, and he set out on a crusade because that was his passion. And unfortunately, he never found the time to get his wife pregnant, so like most lions, he never became a father. So was Richard the Lionheart good or bad? Any opinions? All right, well, like a lion, he killed members of his own species. He was a dysfunctional lion in a family of dysfunctional lions. Point. Humans can be dysfunctional. Agreed? So can lions. Lions do not honor our chosen myths. A pride of lions includes one top lion, call him a lion king, and eventually he gets old and is killed by a younger lion, and infanticide usually follows, much to the distress of the lionesses. Now, do we feel for the lionesses when we observe this behavior? I label this as domestic violence. Next slide. Okay, me too. Now, question, do you have, when you look at this picture, do you have more sympathy for the lion? Look, he's being attacked by all these mean females. Or do you have more sympathy for the lioness? Anyone got an opinion? So we can each have our opinion here. Anyway, it's now what is interesting here, I think, is that we supposedly rational humans want to justify this lion domestic violence as having a rational cause based in science and that is somehow beneficial to the species, whereas domestic violence among humans is labeled as dysfunctional. And I suggest lion domestic violence is irrational and dysfunctional, and so is human domestic violence. I think that they are related. Notice, now I'm not an expert in psychology. I'm sure that there are others who are far more expert than I am, but I notice that the largest part of the human brain is the unconscious brain, and it's similar to a lion's brain. And I suggest that if humans can be emotional, lions can also be emotional. Are humans unique and different from other animals? We try to understand animal behavior. Can we understand human behavior? For example, back to my childhood, horrific violence happened during World War II. When I was young, I was told that they were inherently evil, though I soon learned that they were not a precisely defined set of people. And after the war, I read many thoughtful wartime memoirs. They helped the authors work through their wartime trauma, and they helped me to see a more nuanced truth. Humans are shaped by traumatic wartime experiences. If there is to be peace in the heart, there must be peace in the world. I grieve for the victims of war, both for the families of those killed and the killers who live with PTSD. And I want to believe that there is a way for the world to be better. Maybe I'm wrong, but I want to believe that. I believe human society is better now than it was during the times of Richard the Lionheart. Perhaps we can learn. Being part of the interconnected web means more than watching and grieving. Next slide. So, hypotheses. My hypotheses are all animals experience emotions. You seem to agree with that one. Some animals are capable of empathy. Not entirely scientifically clear, but I'm going to go with that hypothesis. And a few mammals can channel their empathy into effective action. So each individual lioness tries to defend her own cub, but there's little evidence that the lionesses unite or that the lionesses are motivated by empathy for each other. Each lioness has strong feelings for her own cub, but they rarely unite to take effective action to defend their cubs. The photograph that I showed with the three lionesses attacking is a very unusual photograph, and it wasn't entirely successful. If you read the rest of the story, it was not entirely successful. Lions have a limited ability for empathy, whereas chimpanzees and bonobos and humans have more. Are we passive observers of this slow process of evolution, or can we animals with empathy choose to improve our societies? Next slide. What if, by understanding other animals, we can learn and understand ourselves, and by understanding ourselves, we can help ourselves? Next slide. These are Sue, Kanzi, and Panbanisha, and they're learning from each other, one another. Bonobos live south of the Congo River, while the common chimpanzees, who are often confused with bonobos, live to the north. The habitat is similar, yet the bonobos and the chimpanzees have somehow created very different societies. The common chimpanzees are male-dominated. The males fight, sometimes to the death, and infanticide is common, much to the distress of the mothers. In contrast, the bonobos are female-dominated. The females are not as physically strong as the males, but they support each other. Among bonobos, infanticide has never been observed. They are very different. The territory is equatorial rainforest, impassable, dangerous because of gangs of humans armed with guns. There is a small sanctuary, Nylea bonobo, and if anyone wants to know more about that, talk to me afterwards. But we still have much to learn. We have only just begun to study bonobos. It's been very recent because it's been very difficult, and still is. Next slide. So to borrow the words from the cover of Michelle Horton's book, Dear Sister, which I strongly recommend, the female bonobos form unbreakable bonds of support that allow them to control domestic violence. Anyone who gets out of line is controlled by these unbreakable bonds of support. They support each other unconditionally. Summary: we can learn from lions, especially from their mistakes, and we can learn from bonobos, especially from their success. May it be so.
This month's Share the Plate offering is going to the UUA Disaster Relief Fund. These funds will go to those impacted by the horrific devastation caused by Hurricane Helene. All cash and undesignated funds that are received will go directly to the UUA Disaster Relief Fund. And please feel free to use the QR code for the Givelify app on the screen, and may the offertory music lift your spirits, and may what you give bring you joy. Nelly told me that was when the witch hits the tree. Thank you for your generosity, and may these gifts help in the recovery efforts of those who have lost so much due to the effects of climate crisis. And now let us stand for our closing hymn, number 318, We Would Be One.